put the music and then I'm gonna pause it when I start talking, okay? Party's on, so they're heading downtown. Everybody's looking for a come up, and they wanna know what you're about. Good morning. Me in the middle with the one I love it. We're just trying to figure everything out. We don't fit in well, 'cause we are just ourselves. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
This conversation, you look stunning, dear. So don't ask that question. Welcome, everybody. Beautiful people, top designer clothes, front row fashion shows. What you do and who'd you know? Inside the world of beautiful people, champagne and roll up nose, prenups and broken homes, surrounded but still alone. Let's leave the party. That's not who we are. We are not beautiful. Yeah, that's not who we are. We are not beautiful. Good morning, everybody. So excited to see you all in here this morning for our session. Please get comfortable with the music while we welcome everybody in. Just ourselves, I could use some help getting out of this conversation. No looks done in this. Don't ask that question here. This is my only fear. Come on. Beautiful people, top design. Good morning, everybody. How are you all doing? Welcome to our session this morning. My name is Luisana Zambrano. I'll be hosting this morning. Please, while we wait for everybody to join in, make sure you do use your virtual name tag. So this is how we call it. Make sure you rename yourself with the name of your organization and your pronouns. And while you do that, also see who's joining, and you can say hello to any of the other organizations. If you see another friend or a familiar face, we're so excited to welcome you all this morning. We're gonna wait a few more minutes just to let other people to join in. But in the meantime, while we wait for other people, please let us know in the chat, where are you joining us from? Where in Miami are you joining us from? Which neighborhood? And if you're not from Miami, or if you're not joining from Miami, where joining us if it's outside of that. So I'll be reading you all on the chat. Oh, see little Haiti.
Knoxville, Tennessee.
Knoxville, Tennessee. We see Angelica from Overtown. Rosa is joining us from Coral Gables. So we see different neighborhoods. Hollywood, but the office is in South Miami. So that's Ayari. Hi, Ayari. How you doing? Jennifer from Little Havana. Miami Shores. Upper East Side, Miami. Ooh, we see a lot of people from everywhere in Miami. It's so exciting. Okay, so I see we're still accepting people. Coral Gables, the Commodore Trail, Mel, Coconut Grove. Welcome everybody. More Coral Gables, Miami Lakes. Awesome. So I see we have people from everywhere in Miami and also from Tennessee. Hi, Karen from Tennessee. Well, let's get started. So again, good morning, everybody, to this session with us today. We're so excited to have you all with some planning and community building as we prepare for November 17th for Give Miami Day. So we hope for this Give Miami Day to be the best one that you had yet. So we want to make sure that we support you and start planning for that big day. And that we can support you with any other resources for in preparation for the Give Miami Day. So again, welcome to Elevating Your Mission Through Media. This is the space that we're going to be sharing today. And before we get started, I just wanted to share with us some ground rules or like some guiding principles that we do on all of these sessions. So the first one is that we want to make sure you know who's in the room. So please change your name to your organization, to your pronouns. They want to make sure that we address you as their preferred name and pronoun. Two, we're super grateful that you have dedicated this hour to your nonprofit in your community to get ready for Give Miami Day. So if your camera is on, we will assume that you are fully present. And know that our speakers today are going to be engaging as if you are on in-person room. So if you don't have your camera on, that's totally okay. We'll just assume that you'll be taking a quick break or maybe just multitasking as you get ready for Give Miami Day. So whenever you're ready, let us know when you're fully here by turning your camera on if you're comfortable so we can engage and enjoy this interaction. The third one is that we want to be mindful of the leaders sharing their experiences, questions, and insights by giving them the floor. So this means that making sure you don't accidentally hear your conversations at home or work or any background noises. So please use the mute button so we can actively listen to the speaker that we have today. Four, share your love and appreciation with reactions. So whether maybe one turning on your camera as I shared earlier or play with the reactions in Zoom. And these are helpful for our presenters. So we know that you are receiving the messaging on a non-verbal way. And lastly, five, thank you so much in advance for your understanding around these virtual spaces. So we know it has been 2 years that we have been using Zoom, but sometimes it gets a little bit funky. So whether a microphone turns on, we listen like external noises. This might happen today, so please, we ask you to kindly understand and for your patience while we resolve the issue and we get everything working. So again, we're gonna spend the next hour together and we can start diving in. And please use the chat to ask any questions. We'll be here receiving everything and sharing it with the speaker. So again, welcome. This is gonna be our agenda for today. We just welcome everybody into the space and we're starting building community. Now we're gonna go through the meat of the session, which is elevating your mission through media. We have Lisa Muslim from the M Network. Then we're gonna close with a Q&A and we're gonna share next steps for the following session.
All right, am I good to share my screen here?
1 second, Lisa, I'm gonna introduce
Okay.
yourself. So here in the room, we have Molly, who's representing the Miami Foundation. My name is Luisana Zambrano, Program Manager of Article Partners, and I'm covering for Andreina, which I know you have seen her several times. And for our presenter today, we have Lisa. So Lisa, welcome. Lisa is preparing both professionals, novices to excel at media interviews. She combines her experience in television, radio, newsrooms with more than 20 years in public relations. So I'm gonna stop sharing so Lisa, you can take it on and share more with us today. And welcome everybody again.
Good morning, everybody. It's really, really awesome to be here today. I love talking about media relations. I love teaching about it. I feel like when we have an opportunity to have a placement that really matters for our organization, it's really empowering. But it can be very daunting to be thinking about, as a small organization, I have no one on staff who does media. I've never done media. I didn't go to school to do media. And yet there's this need from the community, from our board members, whatever, there's this pressure to do this. How do I do it? And so that is what I hope today that I'm going to help take the mystery away a bit and make it a little bit more simple. And I've really purposefully created this presentation so that when we're done, you're going to have the skills that you need to have a plan of action that you can decide whether doing something on Give Miami Day is right for your organization as it relates to reaching out to the media. So I'd like to just start off with sharing with you the genesis of this presentation. I was talking last year to a person at Channel 10 who works in the newsroom, and I was talking to her about Give Miami Day because I work with the Miami Foundation. And her comment to me was, this was a couple days before Give Miami Day, nonprofits are overwhelming us with events, everything from hang nails to walks. You wouldn't believe the competition for coverage. And I wrote it down. I was like, wow, number one, that tells me that Give Miami Day, there's so much energy behind it. Everybody wants to figure out a way to leverage Give Miami Day. But what would it look like if all of our nonprofits had an understanding of how best to work with media? Then perhaps her comment wouldn't be so snarky and would be more like, wow, I have so many great things to choose from. Because what it kind of sounded like was maybe she was getting a lot of things that just really didn't fit for her. And you can understand, as busy as it is in the newsroom, that she's looking for the best of the best. So how do we get there? Well, in the overview of this workshop today, I talked about creating photo ops and interview insights, which we're going to cover. But as I was planning this presentation, I felt like without kind of giving you the holistic perspective, having tips on how to do those two things would not really provide you the full picture. So let's go a little deeper. We're going to talk about planning ahead. We're going to talk about the photo ops. We're going to talk about connecting with the press and some interview insights. So I asked you all to share with me what was one of your biggest worries about media and Give Miami Day. And here were some of the responses: helping to get our message out, getting media to call me back, how to quickly and effectively get out what I need to say, and how to do a media interview. And then on top of it all, because I'm small and I don't have anybody on staff, I'm going to be really nervous about this. How do I do it? So those are sort of the points we're going to walk through today. Let's start out. Let's jump right in. We're going to talk about planning. Planning is so important, as we all know. I want you to think for a second what you think is the most important thing you need to know before you start any press outreach. What is the most important thing? If you want to pop something into the chat, let me see if I can kind of keep up with that. What do you guys think might be the most important thing? Message, definitely. Mission, message, okay. Content, absolutely. Let's talk about what my answer is here. Let's see. Know your target audience. The number one thing that you need to know before you start anything is, who are you trying to reach? Who are you trying to reach? I see some people shaking their heads. Obviously, there's been some conversations about that. Who is your target audience? What is their demographics? What motivates them? You really need to have an understanding of who your target audience is before you do anything. Once you have that kind of clarified, what is your desired outcome? And this is where I love this conversation with people, because usually they'll say, well, on Give Miami Day, my desired outcome is to raise money. And I would say, you know what? If you stop with raising money, if that's your end goal, you're sort of throwing away a great opportunity. Let's think much deeper about that. You want to raise money while growing your email list for future donors, for example, or you want to convince your audience to do something, or you want to change behavior, or you want to encourage participation, or you want to elevate the work of your volunteers to bring in more volunteers, or you want to build your reputation, grow social media, and so on. So what are those outcomes that are important to your organization? Because what we're sort of doing is we're layering in the reason for doing media outreach. There's a million people that get one hits. They get a hit here, hit there, hit there. What I'm trying to say is that if you're strategic about it, you can do a lot more. So you're layering in these reasons. Then you have to ask yourself, do I have a compelling story to tell? Am I there yet? And is Give Miami Day the best day to tell my story? And I'm going to bring this up several times because I think that's really important. When you consider the comment from this woman from the newsroom, everyone was using Give Miami Day to tell their story, whether or not it made sense to use media as a platform or not. And that's a problem, right? So it's a problem. It reflects on you, and you want to have the best reflection possible. So think about that. And so if you think Give Miami Day is the best day to tell your story, where do I see my story playing out in the press? So remember, Give Miami Day, maybe one day, Give Miami Day, but we also have early giving. So we have a window of time, right? There are other ways to be thinking about Give Miami Day, especially when you think about all the different media. So you have community newspapers that are super local. You have Chamber of Commerce newsletters. You have social media. You have organizations like Patch, which are online emails, which allow you to actually post your press release right into their database for people to see. And you have trade publications. So rather than think, oh, we've got to get the Miami Herald, we've got to get channel XYZ. Sure, those are great options. However, think about your world of media as much broader. And I think that might help take off some pressure, especially if you're small, especially if you're still trying to figure out what that message is you want to be communicating. Okay, so now you know who your audience is, you know what your end result is, you know what the message is and the desired result of media relations is. And so now you're ready to start thinking through, so what are we going to do? How do we create a photo op? So you have to consider your assets. Okay, now I'm a visual person, so I'm going to break this out for you in just a second. So bear with me as we walk through this. What are the visual components and activities that are unique to your organization? What is your organization's unique selling proposition? And which media outlets have matching interests? What news trends are running parallel to your message? And what calendar events do you have going on that you can tie into? Okay, so how do we break this out and make this visual? Well, here goes. So I made up this chart. I've used this for years as a way to create ideas. You can come up with your own idea. You can even add other columns. But those 4 points I just gave you are now columns that you're going to fill in. Perhaps on the side of the wall in your office, you put up the 4 columns and you ask any staff or team members or family, if you're small enough, get a sticky note and put stickies in each of those columns throughout the week. Let's fill it out. Let's look at what we have. So here's how you're going to use this. Imagine that this is a sample environmental organization. So you sit down and you say, okay, what are the visuals we have? Well, we have a meeting room, but it's just not a meeting room. We have volunteers that on Give Miami Day are going to prep their research equipment. Okay, so we've got something going on. Oh, we have research labs and partners who have research labs. So it kind of looks like a science room with maybe jars or collections or things that would make an interesting picture maybe. And we go underwater. Like we go underwater and look for things. So maybe that's an opportunity for a visual. So we put that in the column. Then we go to our unique selling proposition. So perhaps this is an organization, the only thing they're worried about is collecting plastic bottle caps from the ocean. So you're unique in that sense, and you list your other things that makes you unique, perhaps board members or other aspects of your work. Then you think about news trends and outlets. So Channel 10 has a segment called Don't Trash Our Treasure. I'm going to pop that on there. Oh, there's a new study from a university that says people dump more stuff in oceans and roadways during the holidays. Okay, let's put that on there because that's news, right? Oh, there's a national conference on microplastics that's happening in November or that week. Put that on the list. Then you're doing calendar of events, Give Miami Day, company anniversary, and so on. So what you're looking at doing as you start looking at this list is you're going to start mixing and matching, and you're going to start looking for ways to make connections that are going to make your visual, your photo op. Let me show you how this is going to work. Okay. I love this story. This was from back in 2019. When I saw it, I thought, man, I wish I came up with that idea. So this is Latin Cafe. They came up with a Noche Buena lechon pardoning ceremony, right? So the first year they have a proclamation and you see Mayor Jimenez putting his hand in with the pigs, and it's super cute because they took this Thanksgiving tradition of pardoning our turkeys, right? And they said, let's apply it to pigs. And then the next year they get even smarter because they bring out the small, cute pigs, the little baby pigs. Okay. So imagine, if you will, what their chart might have looked like. This is how it's going to work. Their visuals, when they say we have menus, we have restaurants, and we have pigs. We have our own pigs, pig farm. We have cute pigs. So that's one of our visuals. Unique selling proposition. We're open on Christmas Eve. Our food, our farm. News trends. Well, there's holiday news coverage. Carlos Frias at the Herald does food columns. People are talking about it in the holidays, so we can leverage that. And then calendar events. Hey, you know, in the holidays, Thanksgiving, well, they do a turkey pardon. Well, we have Noche Buena, and we have Christmas traditions. And then their team sits down and starts putting together these concepts from these different, and they say, aha, what if we took the Thanksgiving tradition, applied it to cute baby pigs, and we have a photo op that is on the front page of the newspaper every year. Now, you can do that with your organization. That is not that difficult to do, but this is a really cool way to lay it out. So I would encourage you, write down the columns, make your own columns, mix and match, and see what ideas come from that. When you're thinking about a photo op, think about your surroundings. What's your backdrop going to be? Do you have signage? Is the setting unique? Does the setting say something about your message? That's really important. And then my favorite little tip is coming up with moments that have movement. So the photo that I'm showing you right here is a PPP giveaway that the Miami Foundation did during COVID. And it was several hours, and probably many of you came, I'm guessing, and picked up items that you were able to then distribute. And so what we had was a lot of cars coming up and a lot of great volunteers that were just running things out to cars. It was organized chaos. We said, wait, Channel 4 shows up, a truck shows up to be filled up with stuff. And I said, wait, everybody get in a line. Let's pass it down the row, like pass it down, put it on the truck, keep it organized, keep it moving. And that became the video that was prominent in that story. So think about how you use movement in your photo op ideas. So bad things that you don't want to do, what we call in the industry video death, is a room full of people for a meeting. When cameras walk in, they're like, oh, how am I going to make this story look good, right? TV cameras want things to look good. Print outlets, they want things now to look good as well, because they've also got to shoot video along with their photos. So help them out. This is not the way you want to go. Next thing that's not so good is just doing a press announcement at a dais. Not great. No background, no visuals. Here's Matthew McConaughey doing a little bit of a better job with the photograph, but I think we can do better. So here's one that I like. This was last year's Miami Foundation. And when you look at the picture, what movement do you see? Like if this was a video, what would be moving? So when we hit our mark, and yes, we had the confetti ready to go. Confetti went up in the air. It's moving. We're celebrating, hands up, it's moving. Okay, there's movement in the picture, it makes it work. And this was a very tiny room. I was really concerned. But the team, Nikki and others, just did a great job of decorating it and making it work. So here it is. I also like the colors. The bright, solid colors work really well. Here's another picture. There's something about hands up in the air, celebrating, I think, because I saw that trend as I was looking through pictures. The bright yellow shirts, the story that the commentary there kind of fills in the blanks and talks about this story of ending homelessness that the kids were involved in. So colors, movement, all very important things. So I made a phone call to someone that I've worked with for a long time at the Herald, Pedro Portal, who's a very amazing photographer. And I said, tell me what you would want organizations to know about your job and about what makes a great photo op and a great experience for you. And he said, really, the logistics on the event are really important. The backdrop, and he's not talking about your logo, he's talking about what backdrop he sees, okay, in his photograph. What he does care about, though, is where that sunlight is. If you have sun behind your the person speaking, he can't get a good picture. And when you're planning a photo op, you have to figure out, hey, where's that sun going to be? You might go check the location out one day when it's in the morning, but your event's at 1 o'clock. You have to really consider some of those things. Action, we talked about that. Where are they going to park? They got to carry all that gear, so help them out. He also said some people are so worried about making the client or boss look good that they forget the challenges a photographer has to get a good picture. So be mindful of that. And lastly, he said, don't abuse our time. If you give us the time, be ready to go. He cited events where he's told to be there, but the board members don't show up till later. And he's like, it's not really fair to me. So these are important things to keep in mind. So let me stop there before we go to the next section. If there's a question or two that I can answer, otherwise I'll keep going on.
Liz, I see one question from Lori. She asked, how far in advance do they need the information? And I think this is referring to the beginning. So Lori, if you want to build that one. Or if you have that.
Yeah, well, I think probably what she's referring to is what we're going to talk about in the next section, and that is how to connect with press. So let me move through that. And then if I don't answer that question, we can go back and address it. Okay. So a quick little definition page, because I recognize that some of you have never done anything related to press. Okay. What is a media alert? A media alert is a document that you send to communicate to press about what's happening. It is the very basics: who, what, where, when. Okay. A press release goes into details. You have quotes. It could stand alone. And oftentimes in this media environment, outlets will use your press release exactly the way you send it. So that's how those two things are different. We talk about pitching. We talk about calling and getting someone on the phone and telling them why your story is so important. And we used to talk about is this dial and beg. And if you ever work with a firm or you've touched this sort of area, it's sort of a joke, like you dial and you beg for reporters to cover your story. And I just think there was a time where I thought that was the case, but I've been doing this for over 20 years. And I can tell you that dialing and begging is not the way to establish long-term relationships and show a good brand, putting your best foot forward, right? You want to be strategic because you've done your homework. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. And then assignment desks are really important. They are like the air traffic control for a newsroom. All the stories get funneled to them. They assign reporters out to cover stories. They manage their time. Yes, reporters sometimes come up with their own stories, oftentimes, but it always goes through the assignment desk because they're assigning the videographer to go out with reporters or photographers, etc. Okay, so that's a little bit about definitions. So let me show you what a media alert looks like. Probably everyone's seen a press release. Like I said, it's down and dirty. What time, what day, who's going to be there, and where do you go? Okay. I think these are particularly useful for what the things that we're talking about today, for a Give Miami Day sort of approach. So who, what, where, when. Now, when you're reaching out to press, I think that personalized emails, in my opinion, are the best. You might buy a list and be tempted to just send a press release out to everyone. And yes, you can do that. But I have spoken to reporters that receive 200, 300, 400 emails a day. So if you want to stand out, you need to know something about that reporter and why you think that matters to them. So make it personal. Do your research on the media outlets. Who says you have to go to all of them, right? Who says you need to go to every single outlet? Target one or two. Put your efforts behind one or two outlets that maybe you're familiar with, or assign your staff different channels or different newspapers to read or different websites to read and learn and study who's doing what. Bring everybody together, compare your notes, make your list like that. I think that's a really effective way to do it, especially when you're a small organization. Think about an exclusive. If there's one reporter you really like, one reporter that you think really fits what you're trying to do, pitch them on something and say, I'm not going to give this to anybody else. I believe so much in this story that it's so unique that I would just like you to have it. And then variations on pitches. So one example, our client is Joe Stonecrab, and every year we open Joe's up, and it's sort of the same story, which we have to find different twists on. But every year we suggest to press different ways to cover it. So one channel we might have come the day before when the stone crabs are being loaded and cracked for the first time. The next reporter, we might say, hey, why don't you go into the kitchen on opening night? And then the third reporter gets a sit down. You know, I mean, we mix it up. So you can vary your pitch to different reporters so that everyone doesn't have the same thing. Start a few weeks out, which I think is what your question was. Start planning now. Start your photo op development now. Your mission development now, what you want the goal of your efforts to be now. But when you start actually reaching out to press, a couple of weeks in advance is about enough. And in many cases, you can do it. You can call TV stations in particular, and they'll say it's too far out, and that's fine. You can do it a couple of days ahead, but I wouldn't just all of a sudden bombard them the day before. It is not going to work. And then tap your connections. Who do you know? Who on your board knows somebody? Put it all together. Before you call a reporter, just check the news real quick. Make sure no major breaking news has happened and you catch them right in the middle of that, because they're not going to listen. You're going to lose that opportunity. Just check the news really quick. And don't forget, the weekends and holidays can be great times to pitch. And what if they say no? Okay, it does happen. It probably happens more than they say yes. Inquire as to why. Just, you understand they have a lot of priorities. If you're new at this, I would love to understand how I could work better with you in the future. Something like that opens the door for future conversations. Don't be put off if they're gruff, if things move quickly. Regroup. Is there another outlet you can go to, or maybe a different angle? But here's the big thing. Don't put all your Give Miami Day fundraising eggs into media relations. I know that Give Miami Day, or that the Miami Foundation and Radical Partners does a great job of making sure you have plenty of time to plan your efforts, and they bring all kinds of people to talk about it and how to do it. So certainly use those, and don't depend on whether you get coverage or not, because at the end of the day, people may see it, but it may or may not be the broadest audience that you need. So you make sure you have all your other tactics in operation as well. Okay. Interview insights. Know your audience. Okay. We talked about that. The reason is that a reporter is only a conduit to your audience. So when you're talking to a reporter, you're really thinking about who your end user or your end supporter might be. So it's a delicate balance about answering their questions, but yet talking to somebody you're not talking to. But you have to know who your audience is before you go into an interview. Know your desired outcome. So important. So many times I have heard people call and say, I've regrets. I didn't get this in the interview. I didn't get that in the interview. That's because you didn't have a clear goal and purpose and desired outcome of that interview. Don't go into an interview without knowing what you want to be there, okay? Which leads us to knowing your messages. You have to know your messages. I always say 3. You have a million things you can talk about, okay? Who hasn't felt like this on a given day, okay? When you sit down with a reporter and you're so excited and you tell them everything, this is what it looks like going into their head. This could be the second or third, on some days, maybe the 4th story they've covered. And you start dumping stuff into their brain about what you want them to know, and it is too much. They're going to misquote you. They're not going to get the story right, or worse, it's not going to make air because it was too much work to figure out what was important. So your messaging is critical. And really, guys, we're doing this. This is very top line. In another situation, we would talk about messaging, and then we would stop and we would practice. So maybe this is something that as a team in your organization you can do. You have someone ask you questions. Practice, did I get my messaging in? When the clock is ticking and you know that those reporters have to get in and out quickly, How fast can I deliver my message, and can I do it well? Record yourself, play it back. Those are some things you can do to make sure your messaging is on target. When the reporter comes, lots of times the reporter will sort of say, hey, how about over there? You can help drive that. Like if you've set an area up with your banner or something that's important to you, but they'll also help look for a good spot. Relax. You don't have to be perfect. And isn't that wonderful? If you are doing a TV interview and you mess it up and you flub it up and you get nervous, they'll let you start again. This kind of work that you're doing with Give Miami Day, it's positive. I've never seen a gotcha on Give Miami Day. Of course, you have to be mindful of things your organization may be dealing with that could be top of mind. Absolutely. But for the most part, they want an uplifting and fun and exciting story. So paint that picture for them. Wear solid colors. We already talked about the importance of colors. I've worn a solid blouse just as an example. Light jewelry for women, the more that you wear or do with hair and makeup and all that sort of that takes away from what you're saying, I think you do yourself a disservice. So simple is best. And answer your questions with purpose. So what kinds of questions can you expect on Give Miami Day? The first thing they're going to say to you is, oh, tell me what's going on here today. And the reason that they're asking you that question is probably because they don't really know. They've gone to a lot of different things in one day and they're showing up because someone told them to be there. They're hopping out of the car and they're like, you tell me what's important. Okay. So they're going to say, why is Give Miami Day important to your organization? This is actually, these questions I would take a screenshot of. These are important. They're going to say, how much do you hope to raise? What does your organization do? And is there someone else that I could speak with here? So you always want to have somebody in your back pocket. But here's what's most important about this. These very basic questions create an opportunity for you because you already have your key messages and you already know what you want to accomplish in this interview. And by God, you're not going to let that guy ask these questions that don't take you to what you want to talk about. So you're going to help him know what's important. So you're going to transition where it makes sense. So you absolutely answer the question. But things like, what's really important about today is what I have been asked a lot by people here today is what we're trying to accomplish is get in your messages. Don't just answer the questions they give you, because then you have lost the opportunity. When the camera turns off, the interview's over. So expect the questions, expect a transition. Now, I do believe, Lou, you still have the link to the article I wrote of the top 3 questions I was asked? If not, when we're done, I'll pull it up and put it in the chat. But in this article that I wrote, I list transitional phrases that you can use and memorize, and they will help you transition to where you want to go with your messaging. Just a quick tip. At the end of every interview, most likely, especially if someone doesn't really know why they're there, what's important about being there, they're just going to say, is there anything else you want to add? Did I forget to ask you anything? Do not start on something brand new. Don't bring something else new in. Go for the soundbite. Really make it powerful. Now you've done the interview, you're feeling better about yourself, really hit it hard. This is your last chance. I do find that when people are asked this question, they do one of 2 things. They either start stumbling around, bringing in information that's new, or they hit a home run with the soundbite. So let's make it the latter, hit that home run. Repeat an important message is the bottom line. Okay, let's manage expectations a little bit. We already talked about reporters being uninformed. That's the way it is. Just expect it when they're informed. Be surprised. You might just get a videographer. So in this picture I'm showing you, you see the videographer as being the videographer and the reporter. And that is very, very, very common, particularly on weekends, if you do things on the weekends, that kind of thing, if there's short staffed. So just be prepared. It doesn't mean that your story isn't important. It just means that you need to treat that, the videographer in this case, like the journalist, and speak directly to him, not into the camera. Okay. That's my little tip there. Don't look into the camera unless for some reason you're doing like a live shot, then you would look in the camera. They're just going to swing by. They say, we're going to spray it. That means they're just going to get some B-roll. They might get a sound bite and then they're gone. Those are the things I do worry about, because those oftentimes end up on the cutting board. So you want to, if they're going to swing by, tell them what your unique proposition is about being there and why your event is important. Now, the story might air, but it might not. So I think part of what I want to say to you is, in your role, whatever your role is, manage the expectations of those around you. Manage the expectations of your board, of your boss, whoever it might be who's really hopeful. Just because it doesn't air that day doesn't mean it won't air, but it also doesn't mean you can't do different things with it. When media come on site, have people take pictures of the interview. You can still use that on social media. There's still ways to leverage it. You could record the interview on your phone. If it doesn't make air on their station, maybe it's something you can use internally. So there's a lot of ways to work with that. Okay, the big takeaways, and then I would love to take questions you guys have. Know your audience. I hope I've made that clear. It's super important. It is the lens through which you're going to see everything, your photo op, your interviews. It's knowing who your audience is. And stay true to that desired outcome. What do you want this media effort to accomplish? It is, I assure you, it's more than just getting donations. Don't force it. If, as an organization, you're struggling to figure out what the story is and you don't know if it's really it, you probably know that it's not really it. So don't waste time of media by calling them with that story. Wait until you have something that's better. Go with your 3 messages. Let's see here. So what I did is I went back and I wrote out the questions that you guys had said were important in the beginning, and I wanted to revisit those. So I hope that you feel a lot more comfortable about getting your message out, how it works. That the mystique is gone now. You have a peek behind the curtain. How do you get media to call you back? You get them to call you back because you've done your homework, you know what they're looking for, and you have a strong story. How you wanted to know how to quickly and effectively get out what you need to say. You do that because you've already planned what your messages are. You already know what you want to say and what's important. And how do you do a media interview? Well, I've given you a couple of tips, but the bottom line is whatever you do, it's what you say and what you show that's going to matter. So make sure those things are really buttoned up and use the tools I've shared with you. And as it relates to nerves, you just have to dive in there on those interviews. Reporters know, like, people get nervous and it takes time to warm up, and that's part of their job. Their job is to get you to be the best you, because they don't want to put someone on camera who's like nervous and shaking and looking everywhere, so they're going to work with you on that, but use it to build up your confidence. You don't have to be perfect. And when they say, what else do you have to add? Just go for it. Make it the best soundbite you can make it in practice. That will help with the nerves. So that is my overview, a holistic look at planning, doing the photo op planning, doing the pitching, getting the placement, and doing your interview. So I am more than happy to answer questions that you guys might have.
This is awesome, Lisa. Thank you so much. I've seen here one question from Sabrina and Rosa. So their question is, what is the best way to continue updating your list organically when there is such a high turnaround with press contacts?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the press lists, it's our Rosetta Stone in what we do, right? They always are being updated. And so I think the best way is, I would just say, once a quarter, you put on your calendar a couple of hours of time, because that's what it's going to take. And you go through your list, check to see if people are there, go onto the website, see if there's any new kind of franchise segments that might have come up, because those do change from time to time. And a franchise segment is something that's focused on a particular beat, for example, environment or animals, or that sort of thing. And then you're just going to have to update it. It is a bit laborious, but it is certainly worth it in the end.
Another question in the chat, and I think it's related to that one, it's how do we contact the media?
How do you contact the media? Well, that kind of goes back to building your list. When you're building your media list, you're looking at how do you get the contact information there. So most of that is available on the websites. When reporters write stories, they have an email link. Not always, but oftentimes you can Google it, see what you can find. So I think that really the first entree is to send an email, and then you can call the stations during the day, during business hours, and just, ask them for the best phone number. You can search up the name of the station plus, newsroom, and oftentimes they'll send you a news desk email or a phone number, news tips. You have to do a little bit of research. It does take time. The other thing, one other thought is following reporters on social media. You can often direct message them, which is helpful. And not all media will let you do that, but you can start liking some of their posts. You can start seeing what they're doing, letting them know that you're looking at them. And I think that's super helpful, and it does add to the layer of depth that you understand about reporters.
We have another question from Tara. So you have any tips on what to pay attention to when looking at a long media list of contacts? So for example, how to narrow in on the contacts you should actually reach out. So Tara shared that they receive a list that include all kinds of information or press contacts, including titles, social media, website, etc.
Okay. All right. There's something foundational that I'll address that, and then I'll answer the question. I think that having a list that you just email to it's okay. It's not my preference. What I have found that has worked best is building those relationships over time. And when I reach out, I am writing a note directly to someone and knowing what they do. Now, sometimes you don't have that luxury, and you buy a list, right? You buy a list. If you're buying a list, it's got to be as targeted as possible. Buy a list that fits in with the target audience you're trying to reach. Don't make it too broad. That's how I would attack it. I rarely send out like a blast email to everyone. It's on the phone, it's personal. And so I think that's really important. I don't know if that fully answers the question, but I'm just not a huge fan of like a list of 200 people.
I was just thinking of my own and processing everything. And I'm thinking, for example, my organization, it's definitely health education, prevention of chronic diseases, but we're very, very big, especially since COVID, on health equity. I'm trying to think, when you hear those two things, health education, prevention of the minority communities, health equity, what would come to your mind as the type of report or type of department, I guess, or what you're saying would be a target?
Mm-hmm. A couple: social justice, health reporters. I would probably throw in education reporters as well. Yeah. And also on issues like that, definitely make sure you're looking at trade publications. Because so here's the value of a trade publication. You might be like, okay, Give Miami-Dade comes and you get nothing, and you put all this work into it. You're like, man, that was a lot of work, and it is a lot of work, and I got nothing for it. Have you gone to a trade publication? Because if a trade publication runs your story, and then you can go running to the Herald, or you can run to South Florida, look at the story that blank organization just ran about us, it gives it it validates it. It might help raise the stature of that story. So there's so many different ways to skin this cat. It's about managing expectations, but consider the trade publications and starting to build up relationships with them and making sure they know what you're doing.
Sorry, right? Super, not good in that area. Trade trade publication? Give me an example of.
Well, so these are publications or online sources where they only cover, let's say, health equity issues, or
Okay.
they only cover, it's not mainstream press per se, but it's people who are in your industry. Like, which publications would you read to learn about, the trends in your industry? That's what we're talking about.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mhm. Anybody else? Well, I hope this has been helpful. And I hope I see and hear about lots of great things that you guys embark on for Give Miami Day, or, early giving, whatever that might be.
Thank you, Lisa. This was an awesome presentation. I see here a lot of thank you and praise for the information that you shared with everybody today. So a round of applause for Lisa. Again, thank you so much for sharing with us today. And before we close the presentation, before we close the day, I want to share a few takeaways or a few next steps for all of us. So let me share the screen really quick. So again, thank you so much, Lisa, for sharing all of these insights and awesome information for us today. I think we all have a little bit of homework to do when it comes to reaching out to the media, and again, like elevating our mission through that. So for everybody that's joining us today, we want to see you next week, or we want to welcome you next week to Leveraging Your Work Fundraising Power on September 29th. So this is again next Thursday. You can sign up for the next session at the bit.ly below, or you can scan the QR code. Again, we also want you to make sure you complete your registration for Give Miami Day, and also leverage your nonprofit resource hub. So this is where the video is going to be recording and uploaded again, so you can revisit it with your team members, and it's going to be also captioned. So we're excited again to see you next week. And thank you for being here with us. Please take a moment to share your experience with us. So we're gonna open a poll so you can let us know about the session. So Kathy, whenever you are ready. I don't know if anybody has another question while we launch the poll, and let us know how was the session for today. So you have any other questions for Lisa? Please feel free to unmute yourself. Okay, let me change over here so you can sign up for the next session. Awesome, maybe we hope to see you next session. And again, while we head out, make sure that you know that you have available office hours with Molly or Andreina. And also make sure to leverage your Give Miami Day organization hub. So we're gonna drop on the chat the link to the office hours. So you can also leverage that. And again, thank you so much for being here with us. Feel free to hang out. And Molly, I'm opening the mic if you want to add something else before we close the session.
I have nothing to add. Thank you again, Lisa, for this wonderful presentation. Would really encourage, if you know any of your nonprofit friends that have not registered yet, encourage them to register. Registration is coming up. The deadline to register is coming up, so make sure that you do that and share the love with all of your friends. And if you need anything for registration support, feel free to sign up for office hours with me. And Andrina and Radical Partners are handling office hours to support all of your strategic fundraising needs. So really excited. I've had lots of meetings with many people already, so it's been really a pleasure to connect. Thanks.
Thank you, Molly, and thank you everyone again for being here. And thank you, Lisa, for sharing with us.
Thank you, Lou. Thanks for your help. Bye, everybody.
Surrounded but still alone. Let's leave the party. That's not who we are. We are not